Hey, what is up, YouTube fam? Pat here with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the update that was just shown this morning, as well as going over Ron and the upcoming banners and things like that. Before I get into the video, I just want to thank everyone who spent some time and shot me a message this past week or so. I haven't been in the best moods. That's why there's a lack of camera on this video, because I'm really still depressed and not exactly presentable. For those of you guys who don't know, I lost my dog suddenly the other day, and he was pretty much like my best buddy, my best friend. So losing him has been really hard for me lately. So again, I just want to thank everybody who took some time out to express some gratitude and well wishes and things like that. So I really wanted to get something out today, though, because there is a lot of content coming out. There are a lot of things coming out, and I did want to at least talk about them and then talk about my plans for the channel. Obviously, I'm going to be doing this video in just a minute, but also there are other characters that are coming out, and I do want to do how to play videos for them, namely Blue Kise and Apocalypse Robbie. If I can do Apocalypse Robbie, I will definitely try to do Apocalypse Robbie, because I do not own the character, but I will be pulling very hard to get the character, and I really want to make sure I have some content for that. But Blue Kise is definitely one I'm going to try and get out in the next couple of days for you all, and I'll try to do the balance patch preview on Friday when that is shown as well, and my thoughts. And I'll talk about that more in a second when we get to the new character, because one thing I do worry about is, like, I might be wrong on my initial thoughts. So again, these are always my initial impressions when we talk about characters. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. New arena season starting this upcoming Monday. Here are the new frames if you guys have not seen them. I feel like if you already know if you're going to be pushing for Legend, if at this point, to try and get some of these frames. So especially these ones here, I believe, right? Yeah. You guys already know if you're going to be pushing for any of these frames, so you don't need me to tell you that. I feel like at this point a lot of people really are not feeling regular arena format, because it's just filled with a lot of teams that are RNG based, take a lot of time, and I think a lot of people just really are not a fan of that. I do agree you should have to turn your brain on. You can't just cleave everything in arena, but yeah, even I'm like, okay, this is a little bit much anymore. So there's some new story. Here's the Conquest Point shop. First thing they talk about is gear. We have to talk about all of this gear that was shown. It is on penetration set. I'll give you the quick rundown here. The body is by far the best one, and I think it's a mandatory pickup for almost every player, because it doesn't have max rolls, but it has almost max roll in speed, max roll in crit chance, decent roll in crit hit damage, decent roll in defense, and these are basically perfect subs for a penetration body. Pretty much you could either get health or defense in this slot and feel pretty good about it, but this is amazing. This body is really good for characters like Green Violet. It's really good for characters like Little Queen Charlotte, Apocalypse Robbie. So all those penetration characters, even Luna. This is a good body even for Luna. This is great for those of you guys who cannot farm Katie's. You do not want to let this body go by. I really think this is the best pickup from the new arena gear, and I think it's the first one that I'm going to be grabbing. As for other ones that I think that are worth your time, I do think that depending on how they roll, the sword, the helmet, and the necklace are all at least worth picking up. The sword and the helmet are my second tier of things I would probably pick up, because depending on how they roll, like if they roll high health, they might be usable on a bruiser. Same thing with this like helmet here. If it goes like high health, high defense, and not so much attack and crit hit chance, you could still play it on a character like Apocalypse Robbie or a character like Little Queen Charlotte and still feel pretty good about it. So these ones, depending on how they roll, could be very good. The necklace, I feel like the effect resistance really makes it worse than the sword and the helmet, because you really don't want effect resistance on your penetration pieces. Penetration characters are usually just characters that are trying to do a lot of damage, and if they're uninterrupted, so you really don't need the effect resistance on here. This is kind of like a waste, and I really pray that all of you do not roll into this, because it's just really not it. Like the rest of the stats, the other three are fine, but this one, nah. I don't think I would even bother picking up the ring. Maybe Apocalypse Robbie might want it. I'm not really sure. I don't really know too much about Apocalypse Robbie. I'm going to have to do a lot of research before I do that video. So this one might be okay for a Robbie. But again, effectiveness doesn't really inspire confidence. And then the boots, I really don't see any reason to pick up the boots unless like you just play a penetration set character on one of your hunt teams or something. I really don't see it on this one. So we'll see. Overall, though, pretty happy that it's penetration set. Again, body's the clear best one here. All these if you don't have a lot of penetration gear at the end of the day, you could just pick them up. So there's that. But again, get the body first. I personally would be getting this entire top row, and these are just kind of wait and sees to see how I'm feeling. New side story part 3 coming out. Again, I applaud them for trying something new with this side story, but I just don't think this is it. I think that they'll refine this design in time, and it'll be a bit more enjoyable. But right now, it's very tedious. And a lot of people have had questions about, like, when does the shop rotate? And, if I go to the end, do I miss only the top half of or bottom half of the shop, or do I miss the top half? Like, it's made it even slow for me to kind of go through the side story because of how they have it laid out. It's a little bit confusing, and it's very time consuming. And I think a lot of people really don't want that for a side story. A lot of people complain that it's mundane and repetitive, but at the same time, like, side story is meant to be farmed just to get the catalyst that we need to play the characters that we want to play and other content. I agree it shouldn't just be mindless, but at the same time, it shouldn't take this much moving around between screens just to be able to do this side story. So there has to be a compromise and a middle ground. If you guys agree with me, let me know down in the comments below. Getting another side story as well for the newest character, Ron, which we'll talk about in a second. And it's really good that he is, or I should say not good, that he is an Ares character, which means his catalysts are Nightmare Mask, Blessing of Orbis, and Path Power Loop, which for those of you who have pulled Bellion, you already know that these are her catalysts, so you might be catalyst starved already. Thankfully, it looks like we're having a return to form where the side story actually gives us a ton of the catalysts we need for the character, as opposed to just not having them, because recently I feel like side stories just haven't been giving out enough catalysts, and I feel like I'm always catalyst starved anymore. There's just too many characters coming out and not enough catalysts flowing, so I'm at least thankful that we're getting at least 15 of this Path Power Loop and at least 6 of this Nightmare Mask, so that's really nice. So now let's talk about the newest hero, Ron. I will real quick just open up this video right here so you guys can see. Couple of things I want to highlight here real fast. Where is he? So first things first, it might be really hard to see here. I'll just try and maximize it really quickly here. Sorry for my algorithm stuff, but yeah, he's voiced by Billy Kometz. As a piece of fun trivia, I know some of you guys really like that I point out the voice actors for stuff in these videos. But yeah, Ron is voiced by Billy Kometz, who is a pretty good English voice actor in my opinion. He's been in some pretty some really good stuff actually. He's Nafumi in Rising of the Shield Hero. So some of you anime fans will know that. And then for my Joe bros out there, he's Josuke for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable. Really cool guy, really good actor. So I feel like Epic 7's kind of moving up in the world because we're getting a lot of really, really good voice actors for this game. Like originally for the great VAs that we were getting, we had Matthew Mercer for Bassar, and we had Crispin Freeman for Charles, and now obviously Straze and Closer Charles. But yeah, a lot of the VAs are just they're a little bit more niche, and you don't really see them in as many projects from the beginning of the game. Obviously Roz has gotten bigger as time has gone on because of things like Genshin Impact, but some of these other VAs, at the start I was I don't know who this is, but now we're getting some pretty mainstream pieces of talent, some really heavy hitters, I feel like. So and it's cool that a character with this kind of level of detail and this really cool character design gets such a good actor to go with it. So now let's quickly just run through his stats here. So he is an Ice Thief of the Aries Zodiac symbol, which means he shares a stat line with Chiron. And for those of you who have been playing this game for a very long time, you guys already know why Chiron's stat line is insane. I could honestly not read you any of the stats and just read you the speed. The speed that Ron has is 129. Aries Thieves have 129 speed. That makes them the fastest characters in all of Epic 7. And up until this point, only Chiron had it. So now Ron has it, which means he is officially tied for the fastest character in this game. And honestly, at that point, it doesn't even really matter what he does. Because he's so fast, he will be played. Because speed is king in this game, it feels like a lot of the time. So you will see this character see play just because he's 129 base speed. Especially if he has a pretty good kit, which, spoiler alert, I think it is a pretty good kit. Just as a formality, let's go through the rest of the stats. 1,119 attack, which is a middle of the road attack score. Not amazing, but not super great either. Or not super bad either. 5,380 health, which is a little bit on the low side. 129 speed, obviously best in the game. 483 defense, pretty bad, but not as bad as Scorpio Thief. So At least you got that going for you. It's still pretty close, though. This is not a good defensive score. 23% critical hit chance is nice. 150 critical hit damage is obviously average, and along with dual attack chance, effectiveness, effect resistance is all standard. Imprint release as effect resistance is a little bit weird, but I guess we take those. I guess it's meant to synergize with his S2, which we'll talk about in a second. And his imprint concentration is attack percentage, which I really like. But yeah, the big takeaway from this character is speed. Speed is really, really, really good on this character. And I think that's all you really need to know because he's that fast, you will see play. So let's go through the actual moves. So first move we'll talk about is the S2 here. Mental Focus. Acquires 2 souls upon use. 4 to 5 turn cooldown depending on Malagor. Grants immunity to all allies for 2 turns before increasing attack of the caster for 2 turns. Excuse me. And grants an extra turn to the caster. So this move obviously is an attack buff. And it does give immunity to your team. Obviously, the biggest thing you're thinking about, at least from a World Arena perspective, is when a character uses a non-attack skill, they get immediately opened up by Politis and Selene. And Politis doesn't really do a great job against this character because she's element disadvantage, and then also he gives immunity for 2 turns to the whole team, and she only lowers cooldowns by 1 turn, and that's actually the example I'll show here that they use in the video here. So he uses S2 here, and then he procs Politis, and you'll see that it doesn't really affect the team in the slightest that much because you only get -1. In fact, actually, these get resisted, so whose Politis is this? But yeah, so it's not like a super great option. That said, he's really vulnerable to Selene. We can already tell just based on this skill alone that he's really vulnerable to Selene. And also the other thing we can note, backing up here to Mental Focus, is because it grants an extra turn to the caster upon use, and he is a thief. He's an excellent candidate for RNL, if you have that artifact. Whatever it is, Rihanna and Luciella, I believe is how you pronounce it. Excellent candidate for this because previously the only really great candidate was Crescent Moon Rin because she takes so many turns. Mental Focus, a character this fast with a move like Mental Focus, you have double your chances to proc that artifact. So I think that is a decent option on him if you do not use the artifact, which we'll talk about that later on in a second. But yeah, already just from this skill, we can glean that he's a decent RNL user. Immunity is really nice, so he's already, for how fast he is, 129 base speed plus immunity for 2 turns means he's excellent as a counter to control. So good control counter, good RNL user. Decent against Politis, doesn't have to worry about it. Really, really bad, though, against Selene. That's what we can take away from this S2. So let's move on to his next skill, which is his S3, Instant Blade. Acquires 2 souls upon use, which is a bit strange. Normally it's 3 for an S3. I guess they just don't want him to have too many souls here or there, just because he's probably going to be played as a cleave character. And then he has a 4 to 5 turn cooldown, depending on Malagora. Attacks all enemies with a sword, displaying 2 buffs before a 80 to, I believe it's 100% chance. Let me check. Yeah, 100% chance to inflict stigma for 2 turns, and a 65 to 85% chance, depending on Malagor, to decrease defense for 2 turns. Grants a skill nullifier once to the caster. Damage dealt is increases proportional to the caster and target speed. So let's break all this down. So this is a really loaded skill. You could already see this move feels like power creep, right? You guys can see it. This feels like a power creep move. 100% chance to remove 2 buffs. So this guy's a dispeller. That's already nuts. Usually your raw damage dealers, you don't see them dispelling things. And then he gives stigma, which is kind of like a kind of like a worse version of restrict. Decreases amount recovered and combat radius increased by 50%. So it's basically just lowers their healing and combat readiness is how I'm interpreting it. So yeah, it's kind of like a worse / different version of restrict. So he's got the dispel, the stigma, the 2-turn defense break, which is huge. And an AoE defense break is whew, that's a lot, especially on a character this fast. And then he also protects himself with skill nullifier. And then on top of that, his damage increases proportional to the caster. That's not super important because up until this point, speed scaling on a character is actually trash. It's never good. It's in the 0.01%. Vildred's speed scaling is absolutely pitiful. Same with Green Sid. I actually, maybe Green Sid I think might be a little bit better, but for example, Green Vildred, not good. Traditionally, Speed scaling, not super amazing on a character. Seeing that means that this move probably has low damage. We'll have to wait till we see the numbers, but it probably doesn't until you get to this part where it says target speed, which means now we're talking about assassin style multipliers, which those traditionally are actually busted. So this character will absolutely annihilate people that are really fast. Because, again, we'll have to see the numbers, but traditionally when you do more damage based on how fast the enemy is, they kind of just pop. So this move is really insane because it's a dispel, it's a pseudo restrict, it's a defense break, it protects him, and then on top of that, it does a ton of damage to really fast enemies. So I know a lot of people are like, this is an insane character for being an opener for cleave, but this is also a really good anti-cleave character. So let me explain. Because this is the fastest character in the game, and this character removes buffs, so like it can get rid of like FCC barrier and immunity, and it defense breaks, he's a really insane opener for cleave. However, because he's also 129 base speed, the fastest character in the game, and he deals more damage to enemies that are really fast, he is an insane anti-cleave character. So if for some reason, I don't think this will happen because cleave will probably contest this character in the first pick or two, you could pick Ran as like a later pick if they don't have it. If they go like a somewhat fast team, like maybe they don't even have to go full cleave. Like let's say like they go like Closer Charles or like Blue Kise. Let's say they only go Blue Kise. You can actually contest that pick with just Ran, and because most Blue Kises in high end are 270 plus speed, she will just pop. She will just explode. So this move is really nuts to me because it pretty much cements this character as a character that will see play in high end World Arena because either cleave players will immediately flock to this character, or anti-cleave players will flock to this character because of the fact that it's so fast and it functions as not only a cleave setup, but a cleave denier. I don't know if I'm making myself clear when I say this. So this character is like, in my opinion, not really skippable from just this skill alone because it's a 129 base speed and this move is so completely over the top and does so many things. I really just don't think it. Oh, before I went even look, we didn't even look at the soul burn. I'm looking at my mouse cursor. The soul burn is 20 souls to ignore effect resistance. Like holy crap! So it's like a Bazaar style soul burn as well with a defense break. Wow, this character is actually insane. This is a completely broken move. Yeah, this is one of the most broken S3s I think I've seen in a long time. Holy crap! Yeah. No, you're probably like generally surprised. Like, why is he so surprised on the mic? Didn't he like really realize all this stuff? Well, I kind of did, but it's still a little early. So I'm just like, I'm really soaking it all in. Like, this character really is just not skippable. This character really does just feel like, unless their multipliers are bad, I don't see how this character doesn't see play. Character just seems really good. Yeah, and again, take this with a grain of salt. I think I mentioned it earlier in the video, but traditionally I haven't been exactly amazing with my predictions, so do keep that with a grain of salt. I wasn't super right on Mort. I really expected Mort to be more of a force than he is, and I've talked to some Legend players, and they swear to me that, like, you know, it just takes the right build and the right comp for Mort to be used. Like, he's not an everyday pick, but he's still a decent character. But I've yet to see it, so I was wrong on that, and I was definitely wrong on Closer Charles. I thought he was just mediocre for the most part, but right now, Closer Charles is proven to be one of the best characters in the entire format. And in fact, depending on how you draft, if you don't anticipate a Charles draft or you draft wrong in the first couple of picks, Closer Charles just loses you the game. Like, you just lose to him immediately. So yeah, not exactly the greatest track record, but I do feel reasonably confident. I say reasonably because, again, I'm like 0 for 2 on my last two picks here. I'm reasonably confident this character will be meta, just based entirely off of that. So let's move on to his next skill, try and find it real fast, which is Tempest here. So Tempest is his S1. Attacks the enemy with a sword storm, penetrates the target's defense by 20%, damage dealt increases proportional to caster's speed. Penetrates 20% defense is probably fine, but like we've seen these before in the past. If this is like a 1x or like a 0.9x attack multiplier, this is just a fancy way of them saying like it's really a 1.2x. We're just kind of lazy. We made it seem like there's more to this move than meets the eye. Like, if you look at Celine, for example, it's a 1x attack multiplier with 20% extra damage if you crit. So you're just like, oh, cool. Like, that's a nice bonus. But in reality, it just balances out to be like a 1.2x vanilla move. I am expecting that. Again, decreases damage dealt increases proportional to caster's speed. Traditionally, is not very good. So yeah, I expect this to just be like an average to like standard 1.2x, because again, we've seen like we're power creeping this game. It feels like 1.2x didn't used to be the norm on damage. You used to see like 1x a lot, but now it feels like every character coming out has like 1.2x or like a gimmicky way to be 1.2x for their multiplier. So yeah, I expect that for Tempest. It's a fine S1. It's nothing amazing, but like when you consider how insane the S3 is, it doesn't really matter. Like the S3 probably just wins you the game outright when this character's played, so it really didn't matter what Tempest did for the most part. So let's move on to this artifact here, Sword of Winter Shadow. It increases his attack by 15% when you wear it, and when you use a non-attack skill, it has a 50 to 100% chance, depending on level, chance to remove 15 souls from the enemy. For most of you, this is going to be 75%, because that's what's at plus 15 if you pull at least one copy. I think it's a decent artifact. It might be better than I'm thinking it is, but yeah, this is definitely like the play on him, unless you go Iron Now. I think those are pretty much your two options. I probably would, I struggle to think of a character where you probably would want this as well, because the users for this are pretty much the users for Silver Rain, and Silver Rain is not exactly a highly played artifact. So yeah, I think if you you are going to play Ron, you do want this artifact for sure. Because denying souls is pretty good, because it gives him even more utility. Like now, not only does he deny cleave or set up cleave, but he stops things like Spectre, especially for those of you who didn't pull Bellion, because this character's fast enough where he's almost assuredly going to get a turn if he gets through. But yeah, overall, he feels like a must pull. Just do not skip him, because if he ends up being meta at all, you're gonna kick yourself for skipping this character, just because of that. Again, that speed. He is invaluable because of the speed for people who are just trying to contest cleave. If you struggle against cleave, if you're a newer or intermediate player, you want this character, just because it's very easy to get this character to a high speed, and depending on your bracket, he could pretty much save your life and make it so that your opponent can't really go super fast and take turn one from you. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the character. We'll see how it pans out for the most part. We're going to get a drop rate up for Kise, like I said earlier in the video this week as well. If you do not own Kise, don't skip Rand for it, because you know I really do think he's going to end up being a meta character. But if you don't have Kise and you have a ton of resources, I know that says a lot, because lately we've been just getting bombarded with limited banner back to back. Like it's been almost 2 months of just nonstop multiple characters like Luna, Rem, Amelia, Landy, things like that. So I can see that a lot of people probably are going to have issues like already with resources to summon for Ran. But if you don't have Kise, you really should get Kise. She is pretty much a top tier blue unit. Maybe Ran might push her out. I really doubt it, but like this character is very, very valuable, especially if you don't have answers to specific things. Like this character is reasonably good into Briar Witchesaria, reasonably good into Kayron, reasonably good into Little Queen Charlotte, reasonably good into Straze, good into Closer Charles. There are quite a number of characters that are meta game. I mean, obviously, Kayron really isn't super meta anymore, but like there are just a lot of meta picks that Kise answers very neatly. Carrot is another one, for example. Mercedes, Red Mercedes. She's just very good in a lot of drafts for World Arena. So if you are trying to be a competitive World Arena player, somebody who's trying to climb, really should get Kise. She functions decently as a Wyvern character for newer players if you don't have one, until you can get a better one. I would hesitate to be like, hey, pull Kise because she's good at Wyvern, and like leave her there for a while. Like she's just good for really new players. Like if you have like, you just don't really have an established Wyvern team, she can work for you in a pinch. Alabastron is the artifact on her banner, and so far, in my opinion, the only user for that is Assassin Sid. If you were trying to use him for the speed buff as well as the silence. But other than that, I mean, and even then, Assassin Sid, like Alexa's Basket or RNL are alternatives that are really good. Even like Portrait is good, so you don't really need Alabastron. Get Kise if you want Kise or you need Kise. So if I have any extra resources after run, I'll probably throw some at this just to get more imprints, and my Kise raise her attack. Guild Wars season is ending. You know, for those of you who care about it, there you go. It's already here. Rising Star Pack, unless you're like a Giga Whale, I probably would not buy this. I don't know if it's really worth it. Like 900 Skystones is not even a multi. 1.5 million gold, you can easily get that from farming stuff. Like, you're basically paying the cost, which is roughly 100 US dollars for 4 Malagoras, 30 leaves, and a random 5-star. Like, that's not worth it. Again, if you're a Giga Whale, roll for it. I mean, I'll try to point out when I think a pack is worth it, because really don't like to spend a lot of money in this game if I can help it. And I don't think that this is worth your money, so do not buy it. And that's pretty much it for the patch. So yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for this video. Again, it's a little bit long. I went over stuff, you know, it's standard form for me. I like to ramble. You guys probably already know that by now. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys on my thoughts on what was in the patch, if I think the character is worth pulling. Spoiler again, yeah, it's definitely worth pulling. I'll see you guys in the next couple of days. I'll try to get Kise up, as well as the balance patch preview as well. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that other good stuff really helps me out a ton. And again, your kind words from this past couple of days have really helped me get through it. So again, I want to thank you all. Have a good one. See you later.